major developments today in the Gilgo Beach murders case. Rex Heuermann has now been arraigned on 2 additional murder charges. He now faces charges for the murders of 6 women. New charges come just days after investigators finished new searches of his home. The district attorney for Suffolk County issued a statement today about the new charges and what was collected at Heuermann's home. Take a listen.
Now I want to discuss some of the newly discovered digital evidence in the case. Before I discuss that, I just wanted to clarify some of the things that we've been talking about in our earlier press conferences. I was asked specifically about smart devices and digital devices that were recovered from the home and business of the defendant in connection with this case. So I just want to catalog that for you so you get a sort of flavor of what it was. We've recovered 15 different types of cameras. We've recovered 27 computers. We've recovered 58 internal hard drives. We recovered 22 external hard drives or solid drives. We recovered 46 cell phones. We recovered 9 Wi-Fi routers, 44 SD micro cards, which are like jump routers, 17 tablets, 42 USB devices, 8 laptops, 50 hotel cards, 4 GPS devices, 11 music devices, 36 SIM cards, 33 miscellaneous items, and 647 CD, floppy disks, or VSH or miscellaneous tapes. Again, in the months subsequent to the arrest, we've been endeavoring through our own office and with the help of the Secret Service to analyze that massive amount of data. Analysis of those devices has revealed, certainly, that Heuermann had a significant collection of violent, bondage, and torture pornography, which was dating back to 1994, and that material was very similar to the condition that the 2 latest victims were left in. In addition to that, it is alleged that the pornographic images that were accessed by Heuermann are consistent with the crime scenes of both Sandra Casilla and Jessica Taylor. Now, as part of our processing of the electronic devices, the task force discovered a Microsoft Word document entitled HK 2002 through 2004. That was discovered on a laptop in unallocated space, meaning there was an attempt to erase that document. But as most forensic experts know, that even when a document is erased on a device, it is the user could no longer access that document, but forensic experts using particular software can retrieve it, and this document was retrieved in this case. It was a locally created draft, which means the document itself was created on the laptop. It wasn't downloaded from the internet. The document was modified. It was originally created in 2000, and it was overwritten a number of times and modified between 2001 and 2002. Now, as alleged in the bail application, the task force believes that this is a planning document, and it was utilized by Heuermann to methodically blueprint and plan out his kills with excruciating detail. We allege that this document evinces the defendant's intent in committing the charged crimes, that his intent was specifically to locate these victims, to hunt them down, and to bring them under his control and to kill them. His motivations, meticulous planning, and clear intent is obvious. His intent was nothing short but to murder these victims. And we allege that the methodology, that the exact method by which these murders were committed in excruciating detail in that document is in some cases identical to the methodology to murder the 6 victims in this case. Now, I don't want to speak further on the document. I believe the document speaks for itself. So if anybody has any questions about the document, I'd be more than willing to answer them. But before turning it over for questioning, I want to reiterate, right from the very beginning of this case, from the onset of the case, the first indictment, we said that the case was not over. We said we were going to continue to investigate the case of the Gilgo 4 and find more evidence. We've done that. We've said that we were going to expand the investigation both on Gilgo and off and to investigate new cases. We've done that, and that's resulted in the 2 new charges that you see here today. So that's what we've done. That's what we've continued to do. And, my office, along with our partners, are not going to stop. This case continues.
Okay, a portion of a press conference held today after the hearing, the court appearance by Rex Heuermann, where he entered not guilty pleas for the latest 2 victims that he's now accused of killing 6 people. And boy, some of those things that they found, just the volume of it. Laura Uretzian is still with us. And Laura, what's your take when you hear that? It seems like we're talking a mountain of evidence, and as he said, some of it has excruciating detail. With excruciating, he used that word a couple times, and that it seems as though that's what these victims went through, a horrible experience. Obviously innocent until proven guilty, but your take on just the volume of things they found in this home?
Clearly, the evidence against Mr. Heuermann is growing, and it's very obvious that the Suffolk DA's office and law enforcement are not going to stop with that. They're going to continue their investigation. It sounds like they believe that there may be more victims of this gentleman. So, and as far as the evidence is concerned, it's pretty damning. And again, it's a little too early, and it could be circumstantial. I understand that, but when you add it to what they've got or what they discovered early on when they initially filed the cases, you have my understanding is you have a number of pornographic videos, and some of the images and some of the things that you see on these videos are very similar, and in some ways identical to what has happened to these women. You have a man who had the home to himself. My understanding is they also found a book that has to do with the mind of a serial killer, profiling the mind of a serial killer. And we have a document that seems to be the blueprint of how to kill, how to organize this whole thing. And I'm sure they're not telling us everything. They have more, and they're not giving us the excruciating detail because it's still an ongoing investigation, and they're hoping to recover more. But again, I mean, this mountain of evidence and the amount of evidence, I mean, you heard the number of devices that they've gathered. They have to have Secret Service come in and help them out, because the idea for one law enforcement agency to go through this amount, this many digital devices is a lot. And we may have more to find out soon.
Yeah, imagine being the IT guy in that county. What? Celebrate 46 cell phones. Holy mackerel, that's a lot. And obviously they're continuing. Yeah. And continuing to pour over it. That document does sound horrifying because of the details. We'll get a break here, and we're going to hear more of this press conference. When we come back, we're going to concentrate more on the 2 newest victims that they've always been suspected to be the work of Heuermann, but today he had to stand and face charges against them. We'll talk about that when we return.
Controversial case that's divided a community.
Karen Reed is accused of murdering her police officer boyfriend. Will the truth finally be revealed?
The killer or cover-up murder trial, today, only on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, diving deeper into the crime scene evidence in the case against Karen Reed. Plus, we're unpacking today's new developments in the Gilgo Beach serial murders.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
Beach killer Rex Heuermann was in court this morning for 2 arraignments on 2 new murder charges. It's for the deaths of Jessica Taylor and Sandra Casilla. the district attorney in Suffolk County, spoke out after Heuermann's hearing, talked about these victims and how they were traced to the defendant.
First off, with regard to Jessica Taylor, that her body was recovered on July 26 in 2003 off of just west of Halsey Manor Road in Manorville. She was found on her back. She was decapitated, and her hands and arms were severed just below the elbows. Notably, a tattoo that she had been obliterated with a sharp object. 8 years later, her arms and skull were found on Ocean Parkway. Those remains were found on the same side of the road on the Ocean Parkway as the Gilgo 4. They were found less than a mile away from the remains of the Gilgo 4, and all of the 5 remains were located within 50 feet of the roadway. And I think you see that the graphic on page 5 of our bail document illustrates that. Jessica Taylor was last seen on July 19th in New York City. She was working as a sex worker. We know from from our investigation, from a number of financial records and other records, that the defendant, Rex Heuermann, was in New York City on July 19th. Jessica Taylor last spoke to her mom on July 21st, and then less than that was about 8:41 p.m. Then less than 2 hours later, her phone call made its last outgoing call. With regard to the 1993 discovery of Sandra Castilla, again, on November 20th, 1993, 2 individuals, while hunting in that wooded area of Southampton in the vicinity of Old Fish Cove Road in North Sea, discovered her body. She was lying on her back with her arms outstretched over her head. Her legs were uncovered, and her shirt was pressed over her head. The victim suffered numerous sharp force injuries, 25 in all, which we believe were post-mortem. And these were injuries to her face, torso, breasts, left thigh, and in her vaginal area. Once again, we had hairs recovered from Sandra Castilla. This is chronicled in the bail application. There were 2 hairs from Sandra Castilla's remains that are of particular significance in this case. One was a female hair that was recovered from the victim's right arm, and one male hair that was recovered from a tape lift of one of the shirts that the victim was wearing that was pushed above her head. In 2014, about 10 years ago, the 2 hairs plus another female hair, which were found on Castilla, were sent to an outside mitochondrial DNA lab for testing. And at that time, John Bitroff was excluded as the donor of those 3 hairs. Once the task force began investigating Gilgo and related cases, those hairs were retested in 2023 and 2024 and compared with the defendant's known sample from the buccal swab that we obtained. Regarding that male hair, the mitochondrial DNA profile developed from that male hair on the victim Castilla and the profile developed from the defendant's buccal swab are match, and specifically at a rate that would exclude 99.96% of the North American population, and defendant Heuermann therefore cannot be excluded.
All right, that is a lot. What do you do if you're defending him? Michael Brown, great attorney. A lot of facts. Laura Yaretzian, also a great attorney. When you have a case that seems a bit overwhelming in terms of avalanches of evidence coming at you, what do you do?
You make the best of it. You do what you do every day and bring in the experts and see if you can fight some of this evidence, including the DNA. I think what I heard towards the end was that there was a match to him. At least one of the hairs that was found on one of the victims seems to be a match to the defendant in this case. That is beyond an avalanche. That's really, really obviously bad evidence as far as the defense is concerned. But again, you never know. I've seen cases where prosecution has said, we've got DNA match, and then you're able to fight it. I don't know specifically in this case. I would think it's a little more difficult in this case because they've been focusing on him and they're trying to widen the scope of this investigation because they believe that there's more, and it looks like they've got plenty of evidence pointing towards the defendant. And again, as a defense counsel, our job is to continue defending our client and to, just in case there's a mistake, there's an error, or there's an angle that can be used for plea negotiations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's this is a mountain of evidence too. Just the electronics alone, it has to be overwhelming to think about the discovery that's going to be coming their way. 6 victims, tons of evidence, but we'll see where it goes. Right now, he's facing the second-degree murder charges. It seems like it was well planned out, according to the prosecution. Whether that changes or not, we'll have to wait and see.